Hey, everybody, welcome to the Enhance Your World show. I am your co host, Chris Alba. Larkin will hopefully be joining us here soon, but we move on as we move on, right? So, thanks again for checking us out and sitting with us today. Look forward to delivering some content to you, and feel free to comment or ask any questions as it will help. Um, expand our conversation today. The title of today's show is Identifying and Moving Through Limited Belief Systems. So, I guess to start at the very beginning, what is a belief system? From a neuroscience standpoint, belief systems are basically neural pathways that um, are enhanced through thought and feeling and energy, right? And I remember Napoleon Hill used to give the example of a path in the field. And if you drove your car over the same place over and over and over and over, eventually those paths, you would cut a path into the field. And as you know, weather and all those different things happened, there becomes ruts and things like that. And so that's where we start to find that maybe we find ourselves a little out of balance a little bit, and we find that maybe we're stressing a little bit, or we're suffering a little bit, or things aren't showing up the way that we hoped them that they would, or those types of things. And so first, it's important to identify that a belief is and thought and feeling is a higher frequency vibration that we sense um, in our mind and in our gut, right? And so there's those neural connections, and so to walk past this stuff, to overcome, some of the um, societal conditionings and the teachings and limitations that we've experienced in our how we got here stories. Larkin's typing right now, texting me right now, so excuse me. Um, so she might be coming on here in a few minutes. So, and I would really love to get her feedback on this. So, I hope she really joins in with us. But what we need to do to overcome using the gauge lens is learn to appreciate, learn to be grateful for the things that we don't like, but at the same time, we've been able to move through. A challenging time, a difficult relationship, a loss of a loved one, those types of things. They bring in great awareness. They bring in great information, and that's the way I see consciousness. Right, is information for our senses, whether it's our higher senses of our mind and things like that, or our physical senses, whether it's our eyes, our taste, our smell, sound, those types of things. They're all forms of consciousness because they all help direct us through life, through the possibilities of life. And I'm sure we've all had those experiences where we were in an environment and we didn't feel safe. And if we listen to that intuition, that higher knowing, and remove ourselves from that. Hi, Natalie. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining us from Canada. Um, when we move ourselves out of that environment, um, our fight flight reflexes, our senses, where we might feel anxious or excited or something like that, will decrease. And there's been many situations within my own life, and I'm sure yours as well, where we tried to deny those types of things only to later find out that there was something there. Somebody wasn't being truthful or and of integrity, or they were taking advantage of our kindness or our resources or whatever for their personal gains. And then we have to reconcile that and understand that that's not a downfall of our human conditioning, that we all do that in our own ways, and many of us don't we're not conscious of it because we have these narratives that continue to make it seem okay. No offense to those that walk a religious path, but maybe the creator will be able to help heal the planet if we quit getting it involved in human things such as politics and who won the sports game and things like that. Those are limiting beliefs that um, on the surface might not seem like a big deal, but at the same time, um, if if the universe is a all-encompassing, loving being entity, then why would it love one or one thing more or less than another? And that's unconditional love. It's a neutral energy, and then we, with our belief systems, are able to put conditions on it, whether we think it's right or wrong, good or evil, those types of things. And when we're willing to challenge those things, we'll find our own ways of growing. And that's where unity comes into place. And then the most important thing for me is in unity, we realize that the people that are challenging us are just as good as a good teacher, just as somebody that wants to give us some advice that we like to follow or we found useful. The teachings are really to help us learn who we are through the diversity and contrast of life. We're all unique individual human beings. And to me, um, the unity and evolution and growth and all the things is being able to relate to other humans, to relate to our natural worlds, to be able to relate to the energetic realms, those types of things. So we are walking in a good way each and every moment. And that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes or have misunderstandings and things like that, because that is the work. You know, I know, being a former mindset coach, that the reason that I got out of mindset coaching actually was because if someone was unable to work with their belief system um, on a conscious level, it's going to be very challenging for them to change their perception or their perspectives. And if they're unable to do that, then they're going to continue to see the same thing, but it's going to show up in a different way. If we don't think that we're worthy of life, now I don't believe worth is equated to a man-made dollar amount or who we are as a person or anything like that. I think we all have equity, we all have value, and it's not based on commercialization or consumerism. Those are the bigger things that we as humans have created systems so we could operate um, through history. And we're hopefully getting better, but we're still using our external forces, our external beliefs and things like that to justify violence and hurting people, oppressing people, and inequality and those types of things. So the thing that I'm really wanting to talk about with overcoming the limiting belief system is the belief that you or somebody else is worth more or less. That's a limiting belief system that I think is keeping us in scarcity and poverty, and fighting each other for the basic needs that we all need: clean water, clean food, shelter, connection, those types of things. Those are what we need as human beings to thrive in this thing we call life circumstance. We all have a life. How we choose to live it, the style in which we live it, the types of music, the clothes, all those different styles that we choose to do, like that is part of our co creation here on this planet. And when we are diverse, just like our mother nature is, then everything finds balance, because everybody has a role to do. Everybody has a part to play. On my way to the wellness center today, we drove by a bunch of vultures, and it was like, oh man, these are nature's uh, garbage men per se. They help clean up the dead, decaying animals, and they have the right bacterias and biomes and things like that to be able to handle tainted meat and things like that, where a lot of other animals aren't able to do that. And if they weren't here, um, it would take a long time for the creepy crawlies and all those things to decompose of um, those animals that have died, whether of natural causes or whether it was roadkill in this case. And that's the thing that differentiates us from all the other animals on this planet, is our ability to learn from the past. Our cognitive abilities to overcome limitations. A deer is going to be a deer, and even though the cars have been around for as long as they have, they still haven't learned not to walk across a roadway when there's a car coming. They don't look both ways, and all those things as human beings like we do, because they don't have that ability to do that. And A shaman in a healing circle once told me in Colombia, he said, the beautiful thing about being human is we're the only animal that creator created that has the opportunity to become a human being. And then the next evolution of that, of course, is then um, human illuminous, as it's been called, where we are understanding, and our quantum sciences and things like that can help observe these things, that we aren't just actually physical, but we are energy. Our thoughts affect things, our feelings affect things, both internally and externally. If you're guilting yourself over things that you're consuming, then you tend to have more issues than if you just sit in gratitude about, this is what I have to nourish myself with today. And there's all these different ways that we get to live as human beings. And that's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about how to um, identify a limiting belief. Um, Anything that is logical and reasonable based on past experience is probably a limited belief. And even if that brought you great success or wealth or the happy relationship or anything, because if you try to do that same exact thing, it's probably not going to equate to the result that you're hoping for, because who you are energetically is different. And this is where, the law of attraction and all those things you need to be very mindful of, because you can say, I need abundance, I need abundance, I need abundance, I need abundance, I need more, I need more, I need more, I need more. But if you haven't learned the discipline, if you haven't learned to be able to hold and maintain and honor and be appreciative of what you have, then you haven't learned how to hold more. And even if you were to get that, say, like a lottery win or an inheritance or anything like that, most people that have those circumstances will find themselves in very similar circumstances later on, because they haven't developed the processes, the practices, the responsibility, if you will, to be able to maintain that and to utilize that stuff to get more of whatever it is that you're trying to attract. When we can be in peace and we can be neutral energetically, that means in our heart, in our mind, and in our behavior, we are moving through life in a good way. things seem to come to us naturally. We're magnetic. The attraction is there. So if we're in a state of need or a state of want, and we're not in a state of appreciation, then even what we get, even if we get what we want, we won't realize that we got it until after we lost it. Mama Lorenzo and I had a talk last year about that. Like, one of the worst things that I've had to go through in my life has been granted wishes, things that I wished for. I received them, and then I wasn't able to maintain them and keep them. So that was a great lesson for me to appreciate what you have, and there's always more. I ate today. I'm going to need to eat tomorrow. So there's always enough for now. And if we can stay in that place, then we can start shifting through our own limitations and whatever that is. My parents were mean to me. They were abusive. They abandoned me. They left me alone. Those different stories that we tell to justify where we are, why we are, all those different things, how we are. Absolutely, Aaron. Faith and appreciation are the key, because faith is in the unknown, right? And the unknown is the possibility. So if we're like, no, I know this isn't going to work, well, you're right, because you're not going to try. And even if you try, you're going to hold back. So if you have the faith of like, I'm going to do the best that I can, and I'm just going to keep moving forward with gratitude and appreciation, keep doing the best I can in the moment for the right reasons beyond myself, because that is, to me, the key. There's so many people that only focus on their own survival or their own wants or their own needs or their own feel goods or their own whatever, that they're not observing how those words and those actions, those behaviors are affecting other people. Because they stop at themselves. They're looking for their own stuff. And then they're like, no, I do everything. And I did this myself. I remember in 2012, before I got into coaching, I was going through my pain story of my talent agency and how I made all these people all this money, and how they told me I needed to go sue them to collect my fees and all this stuff. And I was belly aching to a colleague of mine at the time. And then I started laughing, and he said, what? And I said, the funniest thing just happened to me. I realized that I did that because I wanted to. No, I wanted them to do what they said they were going to do. I wanted them to hold themselves accountable for what we agreed on and how we were moving forward and what the trade-offs were and all that kind of stuff. And that was the part that hurt me. But what I realized was I did my part. I participated how I wanted to. I told people I was going to build them a business, help them build their career in the entertainment industry. And I did what I said I was going to do. Now, it didn't come back to me in the way that I was hoping to. And now, over a decade later, I'm grateful, because why? That I'm here. Now, if everybody did what they said they needed to do back in the day, I probably wouldn't have moved to my higher calling, which is helping people in this way and not just building them a professional business or a career or, those types of things. I get to work with people that are overcoming, major health issues, cancers, and, suicides and addictions. And that to me has a lot more depth and meaning than, wow, I got you on in this magazine. And I wouldn't know that, though, if I hadn't gone through that experience. And that is why we have to be very careful about our narrative, and why silent retreats, and why meditation, like true reflective meditation, not the staying in the mind and trying to just program ourselves to be a different version of ourselves, but really being receptive to the what seems to be duality, the up and the down, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. Those are our directions, right? Like if we were driving our car and our GPS is telling us where to go, if it told us, you can make a left or a right, doesn't matter, how confusing would that be? So that's why our language, doesn't matter what language we speak, has direction because it moves us through consciousness. To speak full truth would be also to include the up and the down, because that's the whole container of consciousness. That's the masculine and the feminine, and that energy, however we want to look at it, however we want to define it, however we want to communicate it. Yeah, actually, words create. Why? They create communication, and um, and the communication allows us to express ourselves in creative ways without having to use action. Now, some of the greatest teachers that I've worked with, we don't speak the same language. So they've been very good at helping me heal my own stuff, plus teaching me how to help hold space for other people without getting caught up in the narratives like, oh my God, I can't believe that person did that to you, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it happened. Okay, now what do you want to do with it? Let's learn from it. Let's sit with it. Let's feel it fully. So all the energy dissipates from it. Um, and then when it goes back to still and neutral, then as co-creators, we're able to reprogram ourselves, or it's like unlearn and relearn, right? Like as a way that we used to talk about in coaching a lot. We have to unlearn what we think we know so we can relearn what we need to know. And it's been my experience for myself. I can't speak for anybody else and choose not to. That the less I think I know, the more I actually am aware of, because the possibility can come up. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to work on a colleague of mine. And after we did the energy work, she was like, "What was that? What happened? What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't try to learn how to explain it. I don't try to reason with it. I don't try to create an identity from it, which in many senses can make it challenging to exist in the human commercial world. But at the same time, here's somebody that had been struggling, even though they've been on the self-healing journey for a really long time, was very confident in their walk and what they were doing. And now all of a sudden they had a paradox shift because something happened beyond their logic and reason, beyond their explanation. And I didn't give them one. So then they have to reflect upon it. And what she was sharing with me today was how all of her memories started resurfacing, and the things that she thought she had done the work, and she had done the shadow work, she had journaled, she had done all these different things to process that stuff. And she thought she was done with it. I did that, check. And that's where, for me, I like the word ego. That's the I, that's the persona, that's the thing in here. Oh yeah, I did that once and it worked, or it didn't work. And she's helped me in that same sense too. Oh, well, you've tried certain things and they didn't work at that time, but let's do it again. Let's see what happens. So today at our wellness center here in Newport, Kentucky, we're having another open house. And we're doing all the things. And I love you too, Aaron. I miss you, man. I'd love for you to come down and check out the space. I know you would love our float therapy and float tank. It's definitely a cool experience if you haven't gotten to experience that yet. It's a great way to meditate for those that don't like to meditate. And it's very nice and relaxing for your body as well, with the salts and the magnesium and stuff in it. So it's a great holistic wellness modality that we offer here at the Healing Center, because it is not guided by anyone else. Oh, cool. You have floated, Aaron. That's amazing. And we'll talk about that where you went and what you thought and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to learn about that. Um, I found for me, when I floated the first time, I didn't really find the depth in it. It was one of those clamshell models, and it was nice. It was relaxing. I felt calm and relaxed, but when I got out, but I didn't feel much different than when I meditated. And we have a little more old school tanks, and for whatever reason, that worked better for me. I get a really good deep rest in those, and I'm able to recover. Um, I tend to not to be able to do it during the day because um, it takes me the rest of the day to recover because I am so relaxed. So afterwards, so definitely highly recommend the experience, but you have to practice with it. Know when's right for you and when not to do it. I personally like to do it in the evening. So when I'm done with the day, because then I don't have to try to move past that, my body wanting to just be in relax mode, and I'm trying to push through it. And So that's, that's the float tank, and how to use it to get past your belief systems, or to get your aha moments, and those types of things. It takes a level of awareness. And I know these are labels, and I know I'm talking, and we're talking about energy, and sometimes it's cognitively hard to understand all this stuff, and that's why we have to continue the practice, because the more we practice, the better we get, and the less we need to be able to explain it, to define it, to recommend it to somebody, or any of those other things. It's like, no, this is an experience. Come have an experience with me. If you trust me, and you trust yourself, to be safe, and to stand in your power, and those types of things, we don't have to communicate that much. And that was what I was trying to get back to with my non-English speaking teachers, is we have been able to communicate without words, by the way we hold space for each other, the way we smile, the way we laugh, the way we help each other, and plant foods, or build things, or like, we don't need a lot of words for those things. We've just gotten used to it over the years, to be able to talk about it. Hey, Larkin, perfect timing.
Keep going.
Oh, I was just wrapping up talking about, one of the ways to overcome a limited belief system is working with somebody that can't communicate with you in words, because like, it lets you see beyond the stories that we're telling in our head, and we can see, wow, like, these people are good people, even though maybe they're not from what we know, or the lifestyles that we're aware of, or it's too woo woo. I've been hearing that a lot. Too woo woo, and that type of thing. And then it's like, yeah, that's where the mystery is. That's where the potential is, because it's not coming from a logic and reason, trying to go from a formula of the past and create a new tomorrow. So.
Exactly. I think, and I think in other language, another way to put that is, because essentially you're saying the same thing here, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, it's in silence.
Mm.
So if you're referring to communicating with someone who can't communicate back with you, that's the same as saying, maybe holding space for someone. Maybe they're upset
Mhm.
with you, or they're upset. And this is why it sounds like it's going to stretch into another topic, but it's really not. Hopefully people can grab this big picture and see how it's all connected. Eckhart Tolle talks about just being silent, just observing. I teach my clients a lot about the Stoics, the non-reaction. And what is the reaction? The reaction is the egoic self. And the stillness behind it is the observer. So the more you can, I'm not saying don't talk to anybody, but let's say you're having a difficult circumstance, or you're confused, or you're having a conflict. Being silent and just listening, those first few 30 seconds to 2 minutes can be grueling. But if you can get past that, your true observer self starts to see what's happening. And here's the cool part. You're not giving the other person anything to push against. So really, and I'm not, saying ego is bad. Ego is definitely important. It's vital. It is our opportunity for challenge to overcome and awaken from. And it's vital for our capacity to be human. But the idea is to get here and use that egoic mind as a vehicle for other things. If you can get past that and you can harness the power of your thoughts, of your mind, then you can actually have your eternal conscious self using that mind as a tool, which is really ultimately what it's for. So, just a different version of what you're saying. And just to remind everybody, our egoic self is synonymous, as Eckhart Tolle says, with your thoughts, with your ego is synonymous with thought, which is really that egoic self is that 95% of your mind you're unaware of. So if we really want to cut to the chase, where should you start? With awareness. What leads to awareness? Zipping your lip, being aware of your thoughts. And this is really vital, guys. And Chris, I did come in at the perfect spot because we all look for all of these complex, fancy dancy things. And the therapy industry, the self-help industry, even the psychic medium industry, the coaching industry, nothing's wrong with those industries. Are all fine in and of themselves, but they take advantage of what we really are needing, and they make it seem all complicated. Everyone's got their own system. Try this, try that. And one of the reasons Chris and I are on here, we were just talking about this the other day, is we're doing exactly the opposite. We're trying to pull out for you guys and to simplify what is being shared. Because our ego, like if you guys want a solution to something, if it seems too simple, you're probably going to be like, I don't know if they know what they're talking about. I already heard that. Been there, done that. That can't be right. But the truth is, and everything, Aaron, that's an interesting comment. Everything doesn't begin with your words. It goes in a circle. Actually, the first form of manifestation is a thought. Your words, your speaking, is another level of that. It's the next level. So you have to first, you'll think it, and there'll be a feeling that comes with a thought. And then when you speak it, this is when you're starting to pull it into a new level of manifestation. Speaking it is an expression of that thought and or of that feeling. So when you zip your lip, you're taking charge of your 95% of your mind that's coming out consciously, and you're speaking. That's always ego. I hate to tell you guys that. If you're using your words for a practical purpose, like stop, that's a red light, there's a car coming, or perhaps teaching and sharing like we are here, that's one thing. But I don't know the exact percentage. I'd say 90 some percentage of our interaction is ego. Because most of our communication is actually nonverbal. But think about it, we're always talking. And in different cultures and in ancient cultures, people paid a lot more attention to silence. They paid a lot more attention to observing. Women who used to need to be a lot more quiet in a society where we didn't have some of the freedoms and rights we have, although we don't have all the ones we think we have now. We were supposed to be silent in a lot of circumstances. Everybody thinks that's so terrible. But let me tell you something. When you're silent, you observe. So although maybe women were supposed to be more silent, And we naturally talk together in groups. This is what women do. But that's because women are creative. We tend to notice things, right? I mean, biologically, we're meant to be there watching the kids sing a bunch of things at one time. We multitask, we see things. When you're talking, you're not as observant. So women used to be a lot more observant. Now they're busy status climbing, bracing their busy schedule. And we have forgotten the power of silence. It was powerful. We could observe, then we could communicate maybe with, at that time, the men we were with. We would see things and have ideas. There are men throughout history whose women really ran their kingdoms because they were the ones that knew what was going on. They were actually the power behind the men. They were the one that said, yeah, behead him, or go kill so-and-so, or don't let them take over your kingdom, right? The men get all credit for that, but that's not always what happened.
I think I always think about the sales, like
Oh yeah.
everybody, like the woman always made the choice, and the guy kind of went along with it for the majority of the things. If the partner wanted to buy the car because she loved it, more than likely the man followed suit. So, like it's an interesting.
It's neat. And I had some Muslim women in my group years back, and they were fascinating. And I let them take the whole scene and kind of talk and share with everybody. And they said, it's funny because, the way the world looks at us. But she said in ancient culture, like we noticed, and this is just their opinion, how sensitive our men were to suggestion. And they said that's where we have our power. You all see, and I'm not saying, guys, I'm not getting into anything. Don't be all upset. Oh my God, no Muslim women.
Better you than I, Larkin.
I'm just showing. Yeah, I know. Leave it to me to say something provoking. But I want you guys to understand that from cultural standpoints, there is a lot of silence and power and silence that the rest of us don't recognize. We Americans are loud and gregarious, and we think we have to speak all the time and say everything. We think whoever talks the loudest is the most dominant. No, the most silent person in the room has the most power because they have the most self-control and they're the most observant. And for some reason, like we Americans, oh no, the louder the better, it's not true. So, if we reel this back in to what Chris was talking about, and we really simplify, if you guys are wanting to reclaim your power, if you're wanting, transformation in your life, then it's very important. So Aaron, okay, so words are not necessarily source creation. It depends on where they're coming from. Words can create. They create from what you are thinking. So let's say you're always like, oh man, I'm always on the bad luck end of things. That's just my luck. And let's say, you believe that, because beliefs are just repeated thoughts. So when you say to yourself, oh, that's just my luck, you're saying to yourself, you're in a vibrational frequency where you are reiterating with your words what you believe. And you're setting yourself up for more luck that you don't want. Okay. So, the words are only source creation when they're coming out through you from a source place, not from an egoic place. And you do create with your words. You most certainly can, but they first come from a thought or a feeling, even if it's subconscious. Mm-hmm. I'll often say to my clients, they'll say, oh, well, that always happens to me. And I'll say, where did that come from? And they'll say, I don't know. And there starts their journey of awareness.
Right.
They had a subconscious belief from an experience, maybe as a child. Maybe they, started to realize as a child, things never went their way. They always felt like they had bad luck and other people had good luck. They don't even know what that phrase is creating anymore.
Mhm.
So the first key really is to become aware of your thoughts and your feelings first, or your thoughts and your emotions. And be aware of your words. Be aware of how you talk to people. Um, and vice versa. And you almost got it there, Aaron. You just kind of have it backwards. Um, it's the thinking, the words come from the thinking. Now you might feel like words come from thinking, that they direct your thinking, because you might take them and you might roll with that. You can do that, what you're talking about, Aaron, intentionally, when you have, like, maybe you're trying to boost yourself up. Maybe you're going to take a test and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fail. I'm so nervous about this. Okay. And if you keep telling yourself that, you'll keep believing it. You might keep saying it. But here's the kicker: it's easy to think that words or feelings are coming before thoughts. It's very easy to think that, because they're all connected, because they cycle. And, Aaron, because of the 95% of your mind you're unaware of. So the cool part is, if you really start becoming aware and observing, you'll notice it's the thoughts leading the way. But let's say you're scared, right? That the thought and emotion come first of a fear. You're like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. It's going to seem like your words are leading you. And you're probably coming in on the cycle, because it becomes a circle. And so that's why you're noticing the words first. But let's say you turned that around and you were like, nope, I can do this. I got this. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I'm going to get an A. I'm going to get an A. Okay. Whatever it is. Or I'm going to do well. You can turn that around. But you can't turn the words around eventually without, shifting from within. If you guys are interested in more of that, you should really check out Stillness Speaks and The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. All of my clients have to read those books. And I read it for, God, I'm still reading it. I've read it every day for over 25 years. And it's like it's alive. But as I was mentioning before, everybody's looking for these solutions that they think have to be complex in order to make the changes they want in their life. And the truth is, guys, if you strip away what everybody's teaching, it really comes down to reclaiming your power, self-awareness, and your power of choices. Regardless of what topic Chris and I are sharing with you, underneath that level, if you don't have self-awareness, and people go, oh, I am self-aware. Okay, I can tell you're not. Okay, the whole point is to be aware of the level of self that you're unaware of, and that will be a never-ending journey in this lifetime. It never ends.
There's a difference between awareness and knowing. Knowing is stagnant, where awareness is being in the moment and observing as things are always unfolding.
Mm-hmm. And often we have to be careful, because often knowing is intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
So as you become aware of your thoughts, ask yourself, who is thinking this and who is observing this? And you'll notice they're two different beings. The observer behind your thoughts is the eternal you that's meant to be in charge. The one that's like, I know, that has a lot of words, that has busy thoughts. That's really your ego pretending to be the real you.
That's the persona, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's neat, guys. This is not an easy journey for any of us.
No.
But that's why we chose to come and be here.
Right.
And Chris, I gotta say, you look great. The color combination is so cool. The in the back with the light.
Yeah.
And the light in the back that's white. You've got white in the pillow and your white shirt. It's like all ties together. It looks really cool.
It was a happy accident. I'm just here at the healing center. We have an open house, so I went into the healing room. But
there's lights. But let me a quick share with people, so that even those on the rebroadcast can tell us about the open house, because I don't feel like we've marketed it enough. I need people have to know about it. People got to know about it. People have to know about it.
Well, I mean, what we do here is, the open house is really just to get to know our practitioners, the different options, or offerings that are available to help those that are in looking to come back into oneness and the wholeness with themselves, gives us the opportunity to the help and just share information and who we are beyond I'm a certified this, that, or the other.
So what are the days and times and location people can come visit you?
We're doing it all this week till Friday. So what is that, the 8th? From noon to 6:30 here in Newport, Kentucky.
Okay.
And thanks for that little plug. Something that you were sharing with, as you were sharing, that came up to me was I was thinking about Emoto's work, and the ability that we have to program water.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was to feel what I believe the label of gratitude is, and put that into the water by placing my hands on it, and they freeze it, it's going to have a certain ice formation.
Mm-hmm.
And the words kind of help I think of the label as the masculine container, Aaron, and the feminine is the feeling that the word provokes. And the point that I was trying to make with this is if somebody from Japan was to say thank you to me, I'm not going to have I have no idea what that word is. So I'm not going to necessarily have a emotional response to being told thank you in a language that I don't understand. But the water will, using that as the medium, and we're mostly water, right? So, we could be talking about humans too, but we're going to talk about the water. If somebody did that and put that same invocation from another country using a different term to help focus that energy towards that medium, it's going to have a similar effect. So that's why we have to, like Eckhart Tolle talks about it, words are signposts, right? Like I can't tell you the truth, but I can point you towards the truth, things like that, because you're going to know beyond the, yes, this right. No. Yeah. And I believe words direct energy, because it is an energy, and the challenge being is that people relate differently. So, I might use a word that means a lot to me and it might not mean to somebody else. So it might not have the emotional impact, like accountability or integrity. Those things are very important to me, those labels. But what does that mean is different. Same thing with love and all that kind of stuff. Like they're, God, how do you do it without words? Like I'm trying, trying to discern without using labels.
Well, and this is where, again, we have to be very careful. I think, Aaron, you have to be very careful because you're focused so much on words and you're missing everything under it. It's not the words. Words are a way of channeling energy. Mm-hmm. Thoughts are the first form of manifestation. They are a culmination of a particular vibrational frequency. So if we say it's positive, it's within a certain range of vibrational frequency. If it's negative, it's something else. This is why, when you're intuitive, like when I get in an airplane, I have to shut it down because I can hear people's thoughts. They're thinking in words. If they're speaking English, I can hear it. Otherwise, I just feel it. But I've got to shut that down because I don't want everybody's thoughts bombarding me, right? I want my peace and my silence, but everybody's got this different frequency. Now, the word abracadabra actually means I speak into existence. That's what that word means. One of the reasons that people use that, alchemists use that, is because words can also be used for other things. So they would speak what they wanted and use the word abracadabra to focus, as you're saying, Aaron, the energy and the intention, saying, this I want to bring into existence. And so, Abraham Hicks talks about the 17-second rule. I love the ice example, ice crystals, Chris. I use that on my lives and with my clients all the time because it is so powerful. You guys should look up that example Chris was giving you about the frozen water, or even just water instead. Don't ever be angry or upset and be standing there with a glass of liquid. Really, it's
I hate water.
See what's happening, right? Most of us can't see that energy. But Abraham Hicks talks about the 17-second rule, where if you want to change the direction in which you're manifesting, you have 17 seconds. Now, I tell people 10 because I like to give them a little cushion. Because usually if you get past 10 seconds, you're already getting sucked in, right? What's happening is your energy and your consciousness is connecting to your mind, which is connecting to your brain, because your brain, excuse me, your observer behind your thoughts is supposed to be running your mind, which then in turn runs your brain. You need your physical brain. Well, after 15 seconds, really, your neurological brain chemicals, right? Your neurological chemicals get in motion. Your nervous system starts pumping and it goes into the body. And by then, it's like you're trying to stop a speeding train, as Abraham Hicks, I love, she uses that example. So let's say you have a reaction to someone or something. The observation part comes in, and that you're like, oh, I'm feeling sort of this way. Okay. Oh, I'm feeling that way. And my question to you, all of you, would be, you have to ask yourself, is this what I want to manifest? Because whatever you're feeling right now in this moment at all times, because the now is the most powerful place to manifest, is what you're creating. So you've got that 10 to 15 second gap where you can be aware. You can just step back and go, is this really what I want to create? And for people that have anxiety, or they get nervous or upset, or they get angry, any of those strong mental emotions, not the conscious states that you are, but your mental reactions, this is a great thing for you to do. For people going through recovery, this is a great thing for you to do. You step back and you say, okay, whatever I'm feeling now is what I'm manifesting. And do I want this? No. If that's the case, then I say count backwards from 15. Because then you're focusing. You always have to direct your mind. You don't have to do it out loud. Doesn't matter. Inside, outside, verbally or not, you count backwards and you choose a different thought. How would I like to feel? Well, how do I want the rest of my day to go? And this is a really powerful way. And do that, before you start acting on and choosing and speaking first on what you don't want to act. Because you guys know, if you get up in the morning and you start the day on the wrong side of the bed, it's really hard to turn that train around, right? You don't want to have to wait till the next day. Some people say, well, they just take a nap, but I don't really think that works. I mean, maybe it does.
It does for me.
I personally usually have to do something physical. Like I've changed my day all the time, but I would do it by, I would always go running or go practice my martial arts or go dance or walk my dogs or something. But anyway, just keep that in mind, throughout history in different cultures. The abracadabra means I basically create through speaking, but they would actually use that when they were setting an intention. So make sure when you're thinking and feeling and speaking that you're being the gatekeeper and you're choosing, where is this going? Where is this leading? It's just the very scratching the surface of starting to be a conscious creator.
Right.
And we only got 5 minutes left. So, wow. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
Yeah, and I think that's key, right? Because we talked earlier in the show about to create a new opportunity is to create from the void, from the nothingness, from the possibility of the shadow or whatever. And so it's so easy for us to take someone else's roadmap or someone else's belief or experience or whatever,
or energy,
or energy, right? It's all energy, and take that as dogma or absolute truth. And until we question it, like someone asked me the other day, like, is there a way to find enlightenment without pain? And I was like, well, have you ever questioned why you're in pleasure? And they're like, well, no. And I was like, so there's your answer. Like, like, usually when I'm in pleasure, I'm like, yay, this is awesome, fantastic, I love it.
That's so funny.
And
That's a
then
great answer.
but like, no, this sucks, I don't like this. And then we get then we get curious and we start getting creative of ways so we can overcome that limited whatever it was, like whether it be within our own behaviors or how other people treat us or how we respond to how other people treat us because we take it personally. I've gotten to have a lot of experience with people, trying to destroy character and reputation and things like that. And people come to me and I thank them for letting me know so and so saying whatever they're saying. And they're like, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, nothing. They're like, why not? I'm like, that's them, not me.
Exactly.
Like I'm not gonna put all that energy into overcoming that one thing because by me trying to, I'll probably become the thing that they're saying that I do or I am.
Exactly. Yes.
And then I prove their point. But
Mhm.
when I go, no, I love myself, I love them, there's misunderstandings, there's all that stuff. And if it's not the person directly having that conversation with me where we can address where we've misstepped and we've fallen out of harmony within our relation, there's no need to really share much about that. I mean, you can say that hurts and that's too bad. And I wish they wouldn't do that. And there's some
Mhm.
truth in that. And, whatever it is, because, there's a lot of times people have thrown mud on me and I'm like, oh yeah, there was, there was something there I needed to clean up and I didn't know that it was there. So thanks for bringing it up.
Absolutely.
Um, and growing past it and, and, um, and that has been something that's helped me get through, challenges or disagreements or where we're having a hard time seeing eye to eye. Is take a breather. Um, yeah, mirror, right, Mark? And then be able to come back in a different energy with a different tone and a different regulate our nervous system a little bit. So we're not, I always used to call it my Chihuahua syndrome. Um, like, like, you always see the Chihuahuas and they're
That's
like,
great.
and you're like, I'll step on you, dog.
That's
Like you might get a bite in, but like now Doberman come at you that way, you're gonna react a little bit different. So,
well,
it's
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I mean, it's brilliant. I think you're absolutely right. I just, I saw a couple things I wanted to say, yes, Aaron, thank you for sharing Neville Goddard. I've been teaching that for over 15 years, Neville Goddard's work. So that's definitely a good recommendation. And thank you for bringing that up because I think a lot of people at this point, after coaching manifesting for so long, I have to always remember there's still so many levels, like people don't necessarily know about Neville Goddard. They don't even necessarily know about Abraham Hicks. It's still just a small group of us. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. And Chris, yeah, I mean, I think, the way I teach some of what you're sharing is just to stay in your own lane.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people are talking bad about you or they're jealous or they're angry or they're putting you down, first of all, that's their egoic self. And you don't want to get in their lane because when you get in their lane, you're also taking on their energy and you're getting distracted. You're lowering your frequency. That's just your pain body waking up, their pain body waking up your pain body, and your ego getting sucked in. And that's the kind of thing that your ego actually loves, right?
Well, it's
Um,
the formless self getting to prove itself, right?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's really funny. But it happens. I mean, look, guys, everything we know this now from quantum physics, everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
our bodies aren't solid. There is really no solid material world. Everything is vibrational frequency, everything.
Right.
So when you look at it that way, everything we've shared with you today makes sense. The order in which we say it makes sense. You know, words are a tad bit more tangible in some ways, but not really, than regular thought. And our choices connect and make things more tangible. Like, for example, me choosing to buy this book or pick up this book. Right now, I'm connecting with what I call tangible. So it works in that way from what we describe as non-physical to physical. And it's all connected and it cycles back around. And I think when people can have that big perspective and you can start looking at your life and your reality and how you're participating in creating it, it's like, wow. I don't know. It still blows my mind. I mean, I've been studying this stuff for over 2 decades and practicing and teaching it, and it still blows my mind every day.
Right,
So
right, right.
amazing.
You know, a question. A friend of mine brought up well, I am. You know, I am, and I was like, until you're not, and he was like, huh. Like, I'm a kind person. And I was like, yeah, until you're not. And then what? Like, do you die? Do you disappear? Do you turn into another form? What do you do? But you know, that is the power of our mind and the level of our mind, and why Hermetic says all is mind, and as above, so below is just another example of perception and perspective, because you are the bridge between those higher and lower frequencies. And if you would like to talk more about this type of stuff, Larkin, I know you have your discovery call and discovery session, and that's how people get to start to walk with you, and I as well have that same thing. Yours is on your website, right, Larkin? Or
Yeah, I have posted a video of what the discovery call is.
okay,
And I think, it's really cool because Chris and I are sharing basically the same thing in different versions. So, if I don't know, I mean, I focus more on the, reclaiming your power and manifesting and really connecting, remembering who you are and connecting with your intuition. And Chris, you share what your Chris has a different version of.
yeah, I just help people, I guess.
We've been going over this.
Yeah,
I mean,
trying not to put like, I'm trying to figure out like the best way. I help you find acceptance where there wasn't none, whether you know it or not. Like, I help bring up the things that you think you've worked on, the subconscious patterns, the shadow self. Like, I tend to work more in the realms of that than so that's why I think we make a good team.
I think it's more of a who we work with that's different.
Yeah.
This does a lot of it's easy for me to spew that out because I've coached coaching and business for a long time. If you're a conscious person that doesn't want to label, but the truth is that we need labels for certain things. So I would say, if it were in my opinion, Chris works with he really works with empowering men to become more whole. This is what I would say. This is my opinion. You do. And to become more whole and powerful in that way, he works with healing and with recovery. People that have been through trauma and drama is really, really good at that. And if you're local, he's going to pop the address in the comments for you guys and on the show post. He's got a center. So it's great. So we both do very different things, and you guys can check out both of our websites. We'll have some things we do together. Maybe you guys don't want to work with us, work with someone else, but do something. Do something to make sure that you are consistently, because life is repetition and consistency, whether we're talking about healing, making money, having a good relationship, being healthy, manifesting, doesn't matter what it is. It's consistency and repetition. So find something you're going to implement in your life on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And I do believe if you find a good coach or mentor or, community, that is important because it holds you accountable. It keeps you from getting completely distracted and going astray,
The,
and
the,
stays focused.
the problem that I've had doing shadow work by myself is every time I put the light of awareness on it, it goes in another direction.
That's right.
And, and there's that joke, like the shadow, the other people, if we were standing outside in an open field at 12 o'clock, we wouldn't cast a shadow, or we couldn't see our own shadows, but the one standing next to us can.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. So, like, we can see things because we're not personally attached to you as you are to yourself, and vice versa. So, when healers will say, and thank you for the compliment, Aaron, and all the people.
Yes, thank
Um,
you.
I just lost my train of thought there. Oh, when I give a healing, I get healing because that's the sacred reciprocity of energy. Like there's always things coming up that if we're paying attention and we're aware, we're like, oh, huh, like that this showed up for me today, or I had this memory and I hadn't thought about it in 25 years. And wow, no wonder, I'm afraid to speak up for myself or, speak on stage because this one time I was a little kid and I had an accident on stage and everybody laughed at me. And it was so painful that the ego doesn't want to go back to relive it. So like it almost fences it off and builds a wall around it. And that's part of this process is brick by brick, taking that brick and putting it over here to build another structure, which is just another belief system. But we find, like, somebody before the podcast asked me if I was a certified shaman, and I was like, no, they don't certify shamans. That's not how shamans work. But I do work in the natural law of things. So some people call me that, like, and that's fine. You guys can call me whatever you want. You can call me Chris. You can call me whatever. I'm not attached to that anymore. But it does help give directionality of how we can walk.
Can you let Jack? Well, hold on, Jackie.
Right.
I just wanted to share 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate you too. This is what inquiring and conversation is about. It's great. Mark, thank you. You've listened to us for a long time. So for those people wondering, thank you for joining us and supporting us, Mark. And then I want to put out this address for Chris.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, if you guys are local or maybe you're an hour or so away and you want to check it out, I mean, there aren't a lot of deprivation tanks near us, really, anywhere. And there's so many, opportunities there. But the one thing I will say is, just authentically keep checking in with yourself. Don't get caught up in all the garbly goo that's going on around there. Keep it pure, keep it simple. It doesn't matter which avenues you use, as long as you are learning to be still and present, as long as you are becoming more aware of your observer of your thoughts versus your thoughts, as long as you are harnessing the power of your choices. And really those 3 things, you'll always find those at the base of everything that we're talking about, regardless of what it is you're seeking.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I think I'm good for today.
I'm whole. Thank you again for everybody for tuning in and being so conversational, and all the people that are going to be checking out the podcasts and the replays and all that.
Yes, Aaron. Yes.
And I appreciate the opportunity to sit with you, Larkin, and discuss these things. and life wouldn't be the same without any of us. So thanks for being part of my reality. Much love and gratitude for all that you are and all that you do and choose to be, because we are the new earth. And for us to create that, we have to learn how to walk in a new way. So much love, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.